The halls of Sunnydale Elementary echoed with the hum of excitement. Posters of German Shepherds and Labrador Retrievers lined the walls. And classrooms buzzed with questions like, "Can canines really sniff out bombs?" and "Do they wear sunglasses?" Today was Canine Meet and Greet Day, a beloved tradition where officers brought their canine partners to teach kids about safety, service, and sometimes to show off a few tricks. Officer Ethan Reed, a seasoned lawman with over 20 years on the force, strode through the front doors in full uniform. At his side was Luna, a retired canine with a silver muzzle, intelligent eyes, and a presence that silenced even the chattiest of fifth graders. Luna had served alongside Ethan for nearly a decade, specializing in narcotics and explosive detection. She had tracked fugitives, uncovered hidden weapons, and once, famously located a kidnapped toddler. Now retired, she lived with Ethan, but on days like today, she returned to school halls not as a working dog, but as a legend. She was calm, always. Not skittish, not reactive. Ethan used to joke that if Luna growled at someone, it meant one thing: run. But that morning, as they passed into the cheerful, bulletin board-lined wing of third-grade classrooms, something changed. They reached room 3B, Ms. Hannah Price's class. She was the newest teacher at Sunnydale, having joined just 2 months earlier. Known for her calm demeanor, kindness, and creative bulletin boards, she'd already become a favorite among staff and students alike. "Come on in," Ms. Price said with a warm smile. Holding the door open, Ethan stepped through the threshold with Luna in tow. And the dog froze. Luna's ears twitched. Her shoulders tightened. Then she growled. Low, guttural, no bark, just warning. Ethan turned immediately. Luna. The children sat wide-eyed at their desks. Crayons dropped mid-color. Ms. Price laughed lightly, placing a hand over her heart. "Oh dear," she said gently, "she must smell my cookies. I always keep a little peanut butter snack in my desk." But Ethan didn't smile. Luna wasn't staring at the desk. She was staring at her. Ms. Price. And now Luna barked. Once. Twice. Loud. Sharp. Children jumped. One girl whimpered. Ethan gripped Luna's leash tighter. But the dog didn't lunge. She didn't panic. She held her ground like a sentinel, eyes locked on the teacher. Chest puffed. "I'm so sorry," Ms. Price said, voice still light but tighter now. "Should I step out? Maybe it's the perfume I'm wearing." Ethan crouched beside Luna, gently placing a hand on her back. "Easy, girl. What are you picking up?" he murmured. Luna responded with another growl. Teeth bared. Not vicious, but resolute. Ethan stood, eyes narrowing slightly. He turned toward Ms. Price. "Would you mind if I spoke with you outside for just a moment?" Her smile flickered. "Just for a second." "Of course," she said. "Let me just—" She reached to pick up her phone from the desk. Luna barked again. This time it echoed like a crack through the classroom. The students were no longer curious. They were scared. "Okay, that's enough," Ethan said firmly. "Step away from the desk. Please." Ms. Price blinked. then slowly raised both hands. "Officer, I think there's some mistake." "I hope so," Ethan replied. Outside the classroom, the assistant principal had already arrived. Drawn by the noise, "Is everything all right?" she asked, trying to keep her voice low. "Not sure yet," Ethan said, "but I'm going to need the hallway cleared. And I'd like someone from the district's security team down here." Now, back inside, Luna remained by the door. Tail stiff, breathing steady. The children were being gently escorted out by another teacher. Wide-eyed and whispering, Ms. Price had been asked to wait in the hallway with the vice principal. "I really think this is a misunderstanding," she said again. "I've never had problems with animals." Ethan said nothing. He stepped behind the teacher's desk and motioned to Luna. "Search," he said softly. The German Shepherd moved with slow, deliberate steps. No hesitation, no uncertainty. She circled the desk once, sniffed the drawers, then sat beside the bottom cabinet. Tail straight, eyes locked on Ethan. That was her signal. Alert. Ethan opened the cabinet. At first, it looked like the usual clutter: papers, markers, a stapler. Then, tucked inside a zippered pencil case, he found it. A phone, not a school-issued device. Not registered. Taped to the back was a lithium-ion pack, hot to the touch. A military-style SIM booster was embedded beneath a rubber casing, and a pinhole lens on the corner gleamed beneath the fluorescent light. It was a hidden camera. And a transmitter. "Damn," Ethan muttered. He turned to the vice principal. "Get her off campus, now." What followed unraveled fast. Within the hour, the woman claiming to be Hannah Price was taken into custody by local police. Her fingerprints told a different story. Her real name was Sierra Vale, former logistics specialist for a private intelligence firm disbanded 5 years ago. Suspected of selling sensitive data on protected government witnesses and children in relocation programs. She had assumed the identity of a certified teacher. Using forged documents, she had access to student files. She had installed covert surveillance devices in multiple classrooms. And Luna had smelled the lithium casing. Not explosive, but familiar, and dangerous. That evening, the staff at Sunnydale met for an emergency session. Parents were informed. Authorities swarmed the district office. The real Ms. Hannah Price, whose credentials had been stolen months earlier, was found alive and unharmed in another state, though shaken to learn someone had impersonated her in a school. Ethan and Luna sat quietly in the staff lounge, sipping lukewarm coffee, Ethan, and chewing a peanut butter biscuit, Luna. "She's never done anything like that," the principal said. Still pale, "We trusted her." "You weren't wrong to trust," Ethan replied. "But Luna's job isn't to trust. It's to know." The German Shepherd, now sprawled calmly on the tile floor, looked up briefly as if to acknowledge the truth of it, and went back to chewing. Sunnydale cancelled school the next day. But they held a short morning assembly anyway. Not for grief. For gratitude. They invited Officer Ethan to speak. He declined. But Luna walked to the front. Ears forward. Tail low. She didn't bark. She didn't growl. She just stood. And everyone understood what that meant. Not every warning comes with flashing lights. Sometimes it comes on 4 legs. Wrapped in silence. And sharper than anything a human eye can see. Sunnydale Elementary tried to return to normal the next day. There had been whispers, of course, about the substitute teacher who wasn't really a teacher. About how Officer Reed's dog had somehow known something was wrong. But most of the school chose comfort over concern. The incident had been quieted with an official letter from the district, an administrative mix-up. No student was ever in danger. All protocols followed. But Luna knew better. So did Ethan. And neither of them were ready to relax. That morning, sunlight poured into the hallway outside room 3B as students hung up their coats and settled into their desks. Ethan stood near the back of the classroom, sipping bitter coffee from a paper cup. Luna by his side. The school had asked him to remain on site for reassurance. He said yes without hesitation. Luna lay calmly by the teacher's desk, head down, eyes sharp. Then, at exactly 8:07 a.m., Max Halberd, age 8, stepped into the classroom wearing a bright yellow backpack. He was a quiet, curious boy with 2 long sleeves and mismatched socks. And Luna shot to her feet. She barked. Hard. Not like a greeting. Not like excitement. It was the bark Ethan knew from years on patrol. Danger. Everyone turned. Luna's stance stiffened. And she growled directly at Max's backpack. Max froze. What? She doesn't like my new bag? Ethan stepped forward fast. Where did you get it? Max blinked, eyes wide behind his glasses. It's new. A present. From who? Max pointed to the corner of the room. From Ms. Hannah. She gave it to me before she left. She said it was a special backpack. For safety. Ethan's breath caught. Did she give anything else to anyone? He asked. Max shook his head. Just me. She said, if I wore it, my mom would always be able to find me, even if I got lost. Ethan dropped his coffee, already moving. Max, don't take it off yet. Just come with me, very slowly. In the staff office, Ethan laid the backpack on a cleared table and carefully turned it inside out. Luna sat beside him, tense but silent now. He unzipped the inner lining, revealing a layer of foam padding. Not unusual, but beneath that, stitched into the base, was something else. A device, no larger than a thumb drive. GPS transmitter, lithium battery. Alongside it, a small metal vial, sealed, with no label, contained inside a clear, slightly yellow liquid. Ethan's stomach sank. Then came the last piece. A plastic ID card slipped into a hidden pocket. A student ID. Max's photo. But the name and info were wrong. Name: Kevin Dalmer. School: Cedar Ridge Prep. City: Charlotte, NC. It was Max's face, but a false identity. A new one. Prepared in advance. Ethan didn't wait. He slammed the security panel on the wall and pressed the lockdown button. All doors locked. Main gates closed. District alert system engaged. A loud klaxon echoed through the school. Students ducked under desks. Teachers sprang into emergency routines. Within moments, Classrooms were in full lockdown procedure. Principal James's voice crackled over the PA system. "This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." Ethan moved swiftly through the hall with Luna beside him. He tapped into the school's camera system and rewound 3 minutes of footage, watching the side entrance. There, in the northeast corridor, a figure in a long coat, hood pulled low, was walking toward the exit, fast. He didn't need to see her face. It was her. Sierra Vale, the fake Hannah, had returned, maybe for something she left behind. Or maybe to finish what she started. Outside the cafeteria, the side door creaked open, one of the only exits not wired into the main lockdown panel. A figure stepped through. Sierra moved low, face turned, backpack slung tightly, gloves on. Her hand hovered near her coat, something glinting inside. Then, Luna appeared, blocking her path, hackles raised. No growl this time, just silent, unmoving resistance. Sierra stopped, her jaw tightening. "Get out of my way," she hissed. Luna didn't budge. From the shadows behind the vending machine, Ethan stepped out with his weapon drawn. Voice low and steady. "You're not walking out of here." Sierra's hand twitched toward her coat. "Don't," Ethan warned. "Whatever you think is in that pocket. It's not going to save you." "I wasn't trying to hurt anyone," she said. "I was just doing my job." Kidnapping isn't a job. It's a relocation. A clean one. No pain. No fight. The boy was already tagged. Luna growled now, sharp and raw. "I've seen what you people call clean." Ethan said. "Step back. Hands behind your head." For a moment, Sierra looked like she might run. Then Luna took a step forward. And Sierra knew. She wouldn't get past her. The arrest was swift. The vial was confirmed as an anesthetic, fast-acting. Potentially dangerous if misused. The tracker would have pinged Max's location to a private server. The ID was part of a falsified identity packet, meant to relocate Max under the radar. For reasons no one had yet explained. But the intent was clear. Sierra had returned to collect the boy. And Luna had stopped her again. That night, under fluorescent lights in the precinct evidence room, Ethan scratched behind Luna's ears and whispered, "Second time in 2 days. You're going to ruin our retirement." Luna simply rested her head against his knee. No bark, no growl, just peace, for now. At Sunnydale, the children returned the next day to handmade signs across the hallway. "Thank you, Luna. You're our hero." Shadow might have started it, but Luna finished it. And Principal James issued a school-wide memo that ended with a quote now etched into the hallway wall. "We don't always know what danger looks like, until a friend who sees without words shows us where it hides." And that friend wore fur. The truth cracked open slowly, then all at once. After Sierra Vale, a.k.a. Hannah Price, was taken into custody following her failed attempt to abduct Max Halberd, the FBI began combing through fingerprints, aliases, and federal cold case databases. It didn't take long before the full truth emerged. Her real name, Eliza Graves. Wanted in 2 states. Flagged in 3 others. accused of orchestrating one of the most chilling child abduction rings in recent years, under the guise of international opportunity. 3 years ago, in a quiet Ohio town, Eliza had operated as the outreach coordinator for what she claimed was an international scholarship program for gifted students. She visited schools, spoke at PTA meetings, distributed glossy brochures featuring smiling children and far-off campuses. It all seemed legitimate, until 3 students vanished. All of them lived in unstable homes, one with a grandmother suffering early dementia, one with a father frequently out of state, one with a single mom recovering from surgery. Vulnerable, quiet, easy to isolate. When local police started investigating, Eliza disappeared. No trace. Until now. At Sunnydale, news of the revelation hit like a second earthquake. She wasn't just pretending to be a teacher, said Principal Kendra James to a stunned faculty. She was hunting. Federal agents arrived to interview staff, check every inch of Room 3B, and cross-reference records. Meanwhile, parents lined up outside the gates, demanding answers, wanting to know how a predator had walked into their school with a laminated badge and a gentle voice. Ethan Reed watched from a distance, standing quietly beside Luna, who remained calm but alert. He wasn't surprised by the storm, only grateful they had stopped it before it struck harder. But it was Luna who had given the FBI their most shocking lead. The scent sample she reacted to, the one that triggered her first bark in Room 3B, had been preserved and scanned through the FBI's K9 data system. It matched a profile from an old case. Case 147921, the Elkhart incident. A child missing, a hidden suitcase, a scarf later recovered from the trunk of an abandoned van, scent logged for future training. That scent was now on the clothes Eliza had worn as Hannah. Luna had remembered it. Ethan stood in the federal field office as the lab technician gave the confirmation. "Your dog remembered a scent from a 3-year-old cold case," the agent said, shaking her head in awe. "From another state, from another life. She never forgets the bad ones." Ethan replied softly. Back at Sunnydale, students were being gradually informed, carefully, appropriately. They were told that Ms. Hannah had lied about who she was, and that Officer Reed and Luna had helped stop her from doing something very wrong. No names, no graphic details, just enough truth. But Max Halberd understood more than most. He sat outside the nurse's office, watching through the window as Luna padded quietly past. Tail low but steady. She knew, he whispered to his mom. From the first second, she knew something was wrong. His mom hugged him tightly, hiding her tears in his shoulder. In a staff debriefing that evening, the FBI laid out the full pattern. Eliza Graves had been posing as educators and youth counselors across multiple states, building trust in communities, collecting student data, and targeting children who were unlikely to be missed quickly. Her abductions were precise, her disguises professional, her patience frightening. She never broke cover, Agent Vasquez said. Not once. Not in years. If Luna hadn't barked, if Max hadn't spoken up, We wouldn't have known until it was too late." The room was silent. Then someone asked the question everyone was thinking. "How do you spot someone who's that good at pretending?" Ethan looked at Luna, resting beside his chair. "You don't," he said. "She does." That weekend, Sunnydale cancelled all assemblies and community events, but something else happened quietly. The school installed a small, engraved plaque beside Room 3B's door. Nothing flashy, just a line of text. In honor of Luna, who remembered what no one else could. Luna never read the plaque, of course. But every time she walked past it, she paused, just a second. As if she knew, as if she was still listening. Winter break was only days away at Sunnydale Elementary. Paper snowflakes hung from the ceilings, and students whispered excitedly about gingerbread parties and gift exchanges. From the outside, everything looked normal, but underneath the surface, the school was at the center of a growing investigation. What had started as a strange incident with a retired police dog was now unfolding into something far more sinister. And it was Luna, still quiet, still sharp, who had turned suspicion into discovery. The breakthrough came late on a cold Wednesday afternoon, when a facilities worker entered the school's old storage building at the edge of campus. The building was mostly forgotten, used to hold seasonal decorations, broken desks, and boxes of unclaimed lost and found items. But something had caught Officer Ethan Reed's attention: the route Eliza Graves had taken across the campus. After reviewing the security footage frame by frame, Ethan noticed something odd. Before her final attempt to flee, Eliza had stopped here, exactly here, with a federal warrant secured. A police unit swept the building. At first, it looked like nothing: dusty shelves, abandoned science fair boards, old theater props. Then Luna entered. She sniffed once, then barked hard. She zeroed in on a stack of boxes pressed against the back wall. As Ethan carefully moved them aside, they uncovered what no one had expected: a small, active router, wired into a makeshift battery pack and hidden behind foam insulation. It wasn't connected to the school's network. It had been broadcasting its own. The digital forensics team worked fast. Within hours, they'd confirmed the device had been accessing the school's internal security system, mirroring camera feeds and storing footage remotely via a dark web link. Someone had been watching, not live, but daily, patiently, quietly, and they hadn't stopped at surveillance. Near the router, buried under a folder labeled "End-of-Year Program," was something else: a binder. Inside, 12 files, each with a photo, name, age, parent or guardian, daily routine, after-school activity. A few had special notes in red: walks home alone Tuesday, Thursday. Pickup always 20 minutes late, single mother. Lives with grandmother. No current custody order on file. One of the names was Max Halberd. Another was Ava Lynn, a student from Ms. Torres' second grade, who had once mentioned her father lived overseas. Every child listed lived in some version of vulnerability, and every single one had been marked, catalogued, planned for. When confronted with the evidence, Eliza Graves said only 2 words. "You're late." It wasn't remorse. It wasn't rage. It was confidence, chipped by disappointment. But under pressure from federal interrogators, the truth began to bleed out. Eliza had been part of a broader network, a human trafficking operation disguised under a layer of international opportunity. Its agents infiltrated schools, posing as teachers, counselors, and after-school volunteers. They tracked vulnerable children, ones whose disappearances would take longer to be noticed, or whose guardians lacked resources to fight. They framed it as rescue, as placement, as better futures abroad. But what it really was a machine. A cold, profit-driven machine that treated children as inventory. Eliza wasn't the boss. She was a handler, a scout, and Sunnydale had been her next harvest. But Luna, without command, without doubt, had torn the mask off just in time. Had it gone another 72 hours? Agent Vasquez told the Sunnydale faculty in a private debriefing, "We believe at least 2 students were set to be taken during the start of winter break." The plan had been simple. Remove the children when families were distracted or traveling. Forge documentation. Relocate. Erase. Thanks to Luna, she added. They never got the chance. The school community, shaken but united, responded fast. The PTA worked with local authorities to create a permanent safeguardian program, a district-wide vetting system for visiting adults and volunteers. An anonymous donation helped fund secure entry systems and identity verification scanners at every campus gate. But more than that, conversations changed. Teachers looked at children's home lives with new eyes, not as weaknesses to be pitied, but as risks to be protected. And the kids, they began to draw pictures of Luna. Dozens of them. Some showed her with a cape. Others in sunglasses. One depicted her blocking a villain with a glowing red backpack. But all of them said the same thing in crayon. "Thank you, Luna." On the last day before break, students and staff gathered not for a party, but for a moment of quiet recognition. Luna sat calmly in the center of the courtyard, snow beginning to fall on her graying fur. Principal James stepped up beside her, holding a certificate embossed in gold. "Luna," she said, voice steady, "you saved lives this week. Not with teeth, not with growls, but with something rare, your instinct, your focus, and your refusal to stay silent when something was wrong." She clipped a medal to Luna's collar. It read, "Guardian of Sunnydale, for service beyond words." Ethan knelt beside her, his hand on her shoulder. She didn't just sniff out danger. He said softly, she outsmarted it. That night, as the school emptied and the sky darkened, Luna curled up in Ethan's truck beside the passenger seat. The radio crackled with holiday music. Lights twinkled along the eaves of sleepy houses. Ethan glanced at her, tired but smiling. "You ready for a break?" Luna blinked, then closed her eyes. She'd earned it. The winter sun glowed softly over Sunnydale Elementary, casting long golden shadows across the front courtyard where the school's final assembly of the year was taking place. But this wasn't just any send-off before the holidays. There were no carolers this time. No gingerbread contests or secret Santa reveals. This was a ceremony of gratitude. And at the center of it all sat a dog. Luna, retired K9. Former explosives tracker. Quiet sentinel. And now, the unlikely guardian who had stopped a predator disguised as a teacher. She sat near the flagpole, surrounded by students and staff bundled in scarves and jackets. She didn't bark, she didn't wag wildly, she simply sat with the calm of someone who had done her job, and had no need to explain how. The ceremony began with Principal James stepping to the microphone, a red folder clutched in her gloved hands. "Today," she said, her voice warm and steady, "we don't celebrate holiday songs or gifts. Today we say thank you to someone who never asked for attention, never raised her voice, and never hesitated to act." She turned slightly and looked at Luna. In a moment when the rest of us saw a friendly face, Luna saw something else, something dangerous, something wrong, and because of her, our students are safe. Max is safe. From the crowd, Max Halberd, wearing his favorite red sweater and a nervous smile, stepped forward. In his hands, he held a blue collar, carefully embroidered with bold white letters. "You kept me safe." He knelt in front of Luna, fingers trembling slightly, and clipped it gently around her neck, replacing the old worn collar she'd worn for years. Luna didn't move, but she met his eyes. And for Max, that was enough. The next part of the assembly featured letters and drawings. Each grade had submitted something for Luna, crayon sketches of her barking at shadows, guarding doorways, standing heroically between students and monsters. Some kids drew her with angel wings. Others put her in superhero capes, facing down lightning bolts and robots. But the words that came with the pictures carried the real weight. "You are the bravest dog. I hope I grow up to be like Luna, quiet but powerful. Thank you for keeping us safe when we didn't even know we were in danger." And from Ava Lynn's letter, "Heroes don't need to talk. They just need to see what others miss." In the final moments of the ceremony, Officer Grady, flanked by 2 state patrol officers, took the stage. He wore his dress blues, polished badge, and a solemn expression. He cleared his throat and read from a proclamation. "On behalf of the State Law Enforcement Canine Division, we hereby recognize Luna, ID #K94732, as a law enforcement partner emeritus." The words echoed through the cold air. Despite retirement, and without official assignment, K9 Luna's actions directly contributed to the disruption of a multi-state trafficking network, the protection of vulnerable minors, and the apprehension of a federal fugitive operating under false credentials within an academic environment. He paused. "Luna is hereby restored to active honor roll, in perpetuity, with commendation for instinct, service, and courage beyond the call of duty." He stepped forward and clipped a small, silver medallion to the new blue collar. It shimmered gently in the light. The children applauded, some cheering, others just clapping softly, overwhelmed. Luna didn't react. She didn't need to. Later, After the crowd had dispersed and the sun began to dip behind the pines. Ethan sat on the old wooden bench outside the school's front office. Luna lay at his feet. Her front paws stretched out, head resting between them. Snow had begun to fall again, light, drifting like ash. They sat like that for a long time. No sound except the creak of tree limbs in the breeze, and the faint laughter of children playing in the distance. Ethan finally spoke, his voice almost a whisper. "Makes you think," he said, "how easy it is to be fooled." He rubbed his calloused hands together for warmth. We all saw a smiling face. Lesson plans, little jokes, and homemade bulletin boards. He glanced down at Luna. "You saw a predator." Luna didn't move, but her ears twitched. She had heard him. Ethan leaned back against the bench and exhaled. "They gave you medals, speeches, a badge. But we both know that's not why you do what you do." Luna lifted her head slightly, blinking into the fading sky. "I guess," Ethan murmured, "you never needed a voice. You just needed someone to listen." As darkness rolled in and the lights inside the school glowed softly behind frosted windows. The sign outside the building had been updated. It didn't announce a winter festival. It didn't list the principal's office hours. It simply said, "Some heroes don't speak. Some heroes just know." And beneath it, a paw print painted in navy blue, just like the collar Max had given her. Luna rose slowly as Ethan stood. Together, they walked into the snow, side by side, not seeking applause, not chasing praise, just walking, listening, watching, and knowing, quietly, that the job was never really done.
Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please comment 1. And if you didn't, just hit like. See you in the next videos.